Next step communications from the Source are your point of connection with the work of the Source to build the heaven that life was meant to be. I'm Sherry Daniel. I'm the director of the Heaven Project and the founder of the Miracle School. Next Step Communications is sponsored by the Miracle School, which is a Source-directed, miracle-based training program for spiritual activists. This Source communication is the Source News Report on preparations for the most massive vibrational shift in the history of the creation, which will be occurring on August 8, 2013. I'll begin by recapping some of the news that I've dealt with in greater depth in other Source communication videos for the sake of those who've not yet watched these videos, and then I'll move into the specific information that is needed to understand the upcoming vibrational shifts. I've set up the Vibrational Shift resource station at www.themiracleschool.net/vibrational shift resources in order to provide those working with this Source communication with information that is referenced in this video. In this way, there is one central place to find links to more in-depth coverage of the news that is presented in this Source communication. I'll start out with the history that has made vibrational shifts a necessity in order to sustain life in the manifest world. In this Source drawing, a cross-section of the Universal Source Connection channel is shown. It was a massive channel of light within which all beings in the creation existed. It was their spiritual home. This channel was dependent on the sustaining energies of the Source. The design aspect of the Source linked to it from the unmanifest level of reality, and the implementation aspect of the Source, which is my aspect of the Source function, linked to it from within the manifest world. On May 28, 2011, the negativity destroyed the link of my aspect of the Source function, which is the implementation aspect, to the Universal Source Connection channel. I called on all beings to use the foundation of Source Love energy that I had just given them to ground a miracle that could reinstate the connection. Beings responded by consuming this energy for their own pleasure. When the link from my aspect of the Source function to the channel was not reinstated, the Source Connection channel disintegrated. Beings in the creation that are represented here as spheres in various states of connection to the light of the Source found themselves in the void where the Universal Source Connection channel used to be. Because they had the foundation of Source Love energy around them, they managed to survive what would have otherwise led to immediate spiritual disintegration, which would have precipitated the disintegration even of their physical forms. At that point, all beings realized that it was just a matter of time before they ran out of Source Love energy and disintegrated. The core level of intelligence in the suits of all beings called on the Source and asked the Source to give the suits a second chance to survive in the manifest world and to have a life that is heaven. They agreed to follow the lead of the Source and to work with whatever Source solution the Source could create to give them a chance to survive. The Source created a Source solution that had many facets to it. The foundation of the Source solution was the establishment of a model of the creation in which the Source could unilaterally establish and maintain the conditions in which life is heaven, heaven being the highest level of happiness that is possible, could occur. This model is the Source perfected universe. In this model of the creation, heaven is the inevitable reality. What is to be determined is who will live in the Source perfected universe once it reaches its full level of manifestation. This is not determined by the Source. It is determined by every being. In the Source perfected universe, the Source sends out inner and outer plane Source communications to all forms of life throughout the creation. These communications inform them of the upcoming universal changes that will be necessary to establish a perfected world in which life can be heaven. The Source also brings forth the miracles and miracle-based trainings and technologies that enable all beings to survive the changes by riding the tidal wave of Source power that drives them to the higher levels of spiritual integration and spiritual consciousness. The Source solutions that the Source has brought forth are designed to correct for the major problems that have been caused by beings disconnecting from the Source and becoming spiritually fragmented. Let's look at what this means in closer detail. A suit is made of spiritual particles that are meant to fit together like puzzle pieces to form a picture of perfect spiritual integration. When a being is disconnected from the Source, which almost all beings are to varying degrees, the spiritual particles of which they are made lack the Source love that is needed to hold them together, and they drift apart, creating the disease of fragmentation. One of the Source solutions that the Source has created to correct for the disease of fragmentation is the series of major and minor universal vibrational shifts that lift the support field of the creation, which is the spiritual platform on which life exists, to higher levels of spiritual vibration. The purpose of these vibrational shifts is to help the manifestation of the creation as a whole to recover from the spiritual fragmentation that has resulted from the beings living on it, disconnecting from the Source and leading a fragmented way of life. This fragmented way of life has generated a fragmented field of energy, which has fragmented the support field of the creation. The support field of the creation has been dropping from a level 10 vibration, where it was at the beginning of the creation, to a level 2 vibration, where it was as of November 2012. It's been becoming increasingly more fragmented with each drop in vibrational level. At a level 1, it would have begun to fragment to the point of complete disintegration. All life forms existing on this spiritual platform would then have disintegrated along with it and vanished, as did the universal Source connection channel. To prevent the total destruction of all of life, the Source brought through the vibrational shifts, which are a part of the multifaceted Source solution that has been unfolding in stages since beings first requested Source support. These shifts lift the support field up to successively higher levels of vibration. The promise that these vibrational shifts bring is that at higher levels of vibration there is greater spiritual integration, which means a better spiritual habitat for the beings and a stronger support field upon which to live. The peril of such shifts is that when a person who is very fragmented is suddenly swept up in the tidal wave of high vibrational energies that come through during a universal vibrational shift, the high-speed vibration vibrates them to pieces, accelerating the fragmentation to the point of spiritual disintegration and spiritual death. By spiritual death, I mean that the soul loses its ability to link to the suit, ending the life of the being in the manifest world. The two interplane spiritual bodies that sustain the physical body also disintegrate, leaving the physical body in a debilitated state without the spiritual support that it requires to sustain mental and physical health. With those who are weak, this sudden loss of spiritual supports that are essential to life can lead to sudden death or to diseases that lead to physical death. The principle in the vibrational shifts is that those who survive a shift must have achieved a level of spiritual integration that matches the level of spiritual integration of the support field after the shift. If beings honor their request to the Source to work with the gift of the Source solution of the vibrational shifts, then the Source support of the miracles, miracle-based training, and technology that the Source makes available to beings will enable all beings to survive the shifts. Both the creation and the beings will recover simultaneously from the disease of fragmentation as the shifts build a foundation on which a more integrated life can be lived. Now let's take a closer look at the vibrational shifts. The first 3 vibrational shifts occurred on November 28th, December 12th, and December 26th, 2012. All 3 shifts lifted the support field up 1 vibrational level. The beings who were most spiritually fragmented could not withstand the powerful vibration of the shift or adapt to the higher level of spiritual integration. 21% of the population throughout the creation died at the spiritual level during these shifts. Most of the casualties occurred on the November 28th shift. By the December 12th and 26th shifts, beings were rallying and following the lead of the Source on the inner plane to achieve the level of spiritual integration that matched the support field after the shift. Very few lives were lost during the December 26th shift. This was due in part to the creation of an inner plane emergency anti-fragmentation facility that took in those most at risk and helped to prevent them from dying spiritually during the shift itself and helped them to make the adjustment after the shift. In the upcoming shift of August 8th, this facility will not be able to help beings to survive. This is because the shift is the most massive vibrational shift ever to occur since the beginning of the creation. It is a 3-level shift, from a level 3 to a level 6. To survive this shift, beings have to be not only following the lead of the Source on the inner plane, but have to have understood the problem of fragmentation, made a decision to change their way of life so that they can heal from the disease of fragmentation, and transitioned into working with the Source to achieve the levels of spiritual integration that will enable them to match the levels of spiritual integration at level 6. Achieving this level of spiritual integration can only occur when they become suffused with Source love, which is the energy that holds the spiritual particles of which they are made together. This can only happen when they learn from the Source how to become Source-connected and enter into the balanced exchange of love with the Source that alone will enable them to attain this level of spiritual integration. Shortly following the August 8th shift, there will be a shift to a 6.9 on September 16th, followed by a shift to a 7.3 on December 20th, and a final shift on September 16th, 2014 to a 7.5. 7.5 is the highest level that the original creation can achieve, given the deep levels of spiritual mutation that have resulted from the disease of fragmentation. In the next 40 years, all of life will have to have achieved a level 10 vibration, since the only remaining habitat will be the Source-perfected world, which exists already at a level 10 vibration. Individual work with the Source will be needed for each being to achieve the perfect spiritual integration that will be required to exist at this level of vibration, where life is heaven manifests on the physical and spiritual levels of reality. In summary, the promise of a universal vibrational shift is the creation of a more integrated field of energy within which life can exist. The more integrated the field of energy, the easier it is to build a life that is heaven. The peril of a universal vibrational shift, particularly a 3-level shift such as the one that will occur on August 8th, is that suits that are spiritually fragmented will disintegrate, unable to vibrate at the high speeds of the next vibrational level. Now let's take a look at how beings are preparing for the vibrational shifts. Let's begin with looking at the preparations on the Earth. 3% of the human population is adequately prepared at this point in time. 1% is making a diligent effort but is in need of additional Source support. 17% are making some effort to evolve but are not taking it seriously enough to get there. 79% is in extreme jeopardy because they are continuing on with living a fragmented life without taking the steps they need to take to correct for this situation. Now let's look at preparations outside of the Earth plane. 49% of the population outside of the Earth plane is prepared for the vibrational shifts. This is largely because beings outside of the Earth plane are living in less material habitats. They can more easily see what is happening on the spiritual level of reality and are faster to recognize the danger of accelerated spiritual fragmentation during a universal vibrational shift. 12% are working to get prepared and need additional Source support. 38% are aware of impending danger but have not brought the picture into focus. 1% is working actively to try to block source communications from getting through and to sidetrack beings so they will not prepare adequately for the shifts. They are eagerly awaiting the colossal levels of death that can occur if beings do not awaken and take action in time. The 1%, which is the hardcore levels of the negativity, the criminal element that operates on the inner plane, have been very rigorously preparing for the shifts by harvesting the source love energies of other beings, stockpiling it, and preparing to draw on it themselves to prevent their spiritual particles from fragmenting to the point of disintegration. They feel confident that they will be able to live off of the energies of the empty suits that they anticipate will exist in plenty due to the lack of preparedness on the part of so many beings. They are quite skilled in entering into and controlling empty suits that have lost the soul and the energy bodies that protect the physical body. They feel that with all of this additional power, they can gain the upper hand in the creation and turn life into a living hell for those who manage to survive the shifts. Their goal is to create such traumatic conditions in the world that survivors are fragmented by being in the presence of atrocities committed by the empty suits of their former loved ones, whose souls have become unlinked, leaving nothing but the robot shell of the suit behind, countermanded by the malevolent intelligence of the negativity. I have been sending out source communications to beings on the inner and outer plane to awaken them to the danger at hand so that they will not repeat their former mistake of not following the lead of the source and losing their spiritual home, the source connection channel, by once again not following the lead of the source and losing their lives as well. There is only so much that the source can do in a creation that operates as a joint venture. The source can create the conditions in which all beings can survive the shifts and have a life that is heaven, but if they refuse to rise to the occasion and do their parts, then tragedy could occur despite the best efforts of the source. What the source will not do is to take away the free will of beings to choose their own destiny. To do so would be a violation of life and would result in a creation full of robot suits with no real intelligence on board that is capable of choosing to love and to live the heaven that has to be a choice if it is to be a heaven that is worth having. In the words of a heaven agent who was recently reflecting on this situation, the source has stepped in to give beings a second chance. Now it's time for beings to step up and do their parts. Now let's take a look at why it is important to step up. Unless beings throughout the creation can face the reality of the worst-case scenario, they will not understand fully why it is necessary to prepare adequately for these vibrational shifts. I will present the full picture here as part of my mission of imparting source truth. It is up to you what you do with this information. Some beings think that the way to deal with any spiritual crisis is just to pray to the source for divine intercession. What they don't realize is that they have already done this, and the response of the source is the source solution of the vibrational shifts. If they then do not do their parts to prepare for the healing of themselves and the creation that these shifts make possible, then they may not survive. The source can't save them if they remain passive and do not heed the warnings of the source about the dangers of such massive universal changes. They can't behave like the man stranded on the top of his roof during a flood, refusing the boat that the source sent to him to save his life, because he's expecting the source to come in some miraculous way and carry him to safety. The source works through the practical processes of the world. If beings insist on believing in some theory about how the source is going to save them that doesn't correspond with reality, then they will not be able to survive the upcoming vibrational shifts. A big part of the disconnection from the source has been the development of personal and cultural stories that don't correspond to source reality. Beings believe in these stories and think that the source is constrained to conform to their story of reality. The truth is that the source is only going to act within the principles of life, maintaining the conditions in which life is sustainable in the creation whether this conforms to the small picture theories of humans or not. It was not so long ago that people thought that the earth was flat and that if you sailed off into the horizon, you would fall off the edge of the world. While modern science has come up with some flashy technology, human understanding of the true nature of life is still very elementary. Unless humans are able to become humble enough to understand that the Creator knows more than they do about how things work, they will perish as a species in the upcoming universal changes, which will start with the vibrational shifts and continue on until perfect spiritual integration has manifested completely. The Source can't do anything other than build a world that works. Beings have to be willing to understand the Source perspective on what a world that works is like and learn what they need to learn to work alongside the Source. Life as heaven will one day be the only reality. Who survives to live in this heaven is up to the decisions made by each individual in the creation. Now let's look at the peril of the August 8th vibrational shifts and the ones that will follow thereafter. Massive spiritual death is a tragedy like no other. It is one thing to lose a loved one to physical death. Most people mourn their loss but remember them as they once were and feel some kind of comfort in the thought that they might have moved on to a better life. It's another thing to live with the empty body of a former loved one and experience the distortion of personality that occurs when no one is home anymore. There's no one there to love you or to behave in a loving manner. Without the soul, the suit can devolve into a debased and loveless robot that preys on others to gratify its basic needs, or is simply a set of repetitive patterns which no longer express the love of the being who once lived in the suit. In the worst-case scenario, the body gets countermanded by the negativity, and you are caught in a situation where a malevolent intelligence is now occupying the suit of your spouse, your child, your coworker, or your friend. There is nothing worse. It is the nightmare of hell made manifest. When someone dies at the spiritual level and the physical body lives on, it is filled up with very dense, fragmented, and fragmenting spiritual death energies. These death energies create a fragmented field of energy around the person, which can fragment the suits of even people who had formerly maintained a high level of spiritual integration. The earth has become suffused with dense spiritual death energies from the 21% of the population that died at the spiritual level during the first 3 vibrational shifts. I've been working for many months to clear this energy, which has destroyed the lives of many others who are already struggling with the disease of fragmentation and who are now in a more critical state because of the fragmenting effect of living in a medium of spiritual death energy. If massive numbers of humans die in the August 8th vibrational shift, or in the one on September 16th or December 20th, the spiritual death energies will reach a point of critical mass. The resulting field of fragmentation could fragment the suits of even those who survived the vibrational shifts. The spiraling effect of more death and more spiritual death energy can lead to the collapse of the support field that is the spiritual platform on which life exists in the original creation. This would lead to the end of life in the original creation. Even at a higher level of vibration, it can't withstand a massive influx of the low vibrational energies of death. While the collapse of the original creation will not affect the new perfected habitat of the Source-perfected world, there may not be any beings who survive the collapse of the original creation who are prepared to sustain the level 10 vibration needed to transition into the Source-perfected world. This would mean a perfected world that would only be primarily populated by new souls coming into the Source-perfected world. The beings who have been incarnating since the beginning of the creation would have lost their chance to exist in the manifest world. Since the Source loves every being and wishes everyone to recover from the disease of fragmentation and to enjoy a life that is heaven, Such an outcome would be tragic. But the Source also recognizes that it is up to each individual being to decide if they will honor their request for a Source solution by stepping up to do what they need to do to work with it successfully. Now let's look at the strategy of the negativity. The negativity is well aware of the threat to life that fragmentation brings. They're the ones promoting the fragmented way of life because it renders beings who are fragmented more vulnerable to their harvesting operation. When they succeed in causing a spiritual death, they can move in and harvest a being's entire allotment of life energies. Death, therefore, is a valued outcome for the negativity. Through their harvesting operation, they have amassed large reserves of stolen life energies and source love energies. They tap into these energies in order to survive a vibrational shift, so they can be there to harvest the energies left over in an empty suit that can no longer defend itself. Like a cancer, they kill and consume without any forethought to the eventual death that they will experience when they have destroyed the life forms upon which they are dependent. To them, life is about death and destruction. The hell of extreme suffering is all that they know in their highly fragmented spiritual state, and the pleasure of life rivets around trying to control the pain that is their only reality. There are no limits to which they will go in their pursuit of their sadistic and masochistic obsessions. You can see their handiwork on the outer plane in the wars, crimes, genocide, torture, child abuse, rape, and cruelty of the world. These atrocities do not light a candle to the atrocities that they perpetrate on beings on the inner plane, which is still a lawless arena where the negativity has access to every life. Despite their well-developed arsenal of inner plane weapons, their armies of entities, and their very highly developed spiritual technologies, they have been defeated in the prototype communities when beings stood up against their tyranny and held the line for heaven. Until all beings throughout the creation recognize that the negativity is the intelligence behind the suffering in the world and hold the line for heaven, the negativity will continue to damage and destroy, creating the hell experience for themselves and all others. Instead of fighting one another, beings need to recognize that the negativity is the intelligence instigating conflict, disease, scarcity, and all the other ills, which are unnatural and which do not occur in the prototype communities or in the other world where beings have also held the line for heaven. In the upcoming vibrational shifts, the universal community needs to work together to hold the line for heaven to protect those most at risk, such as children and the elderly and those who are ill. If the universal community does not awaken to the true causal force behind the suffering and atrocities in the world and take decisive action, the negativity could gain the upper hand in these vibrational shifts, destroying the opportunity of this source solution to rescue beings and give them a second chance to have a life that is heaven. As with any source solution, the solution is only one half of the equation. If beings don't rise to the challenge presented by the source solution, then the negativity will rise to the opportunity to make the most of the apathy of the beings and take the universe to a new level of death and destruction. Despite the tactics of the negativity, no death will occur if beings prepare for the shifts. The Source has provided all of the miracles and miracle-based technologies and training that are needed for beings everywhere in the creation to achieve the necessary levels of spiritual integration that will enable them to survive and to ride the tidal wave of the vibrational shifts to a better way of life. They must step up, however, and work with the Source solutions that they have requested. They can't petition the Source for a Source solution that by necessity requires a massive universal change, and then expect that this will not require an adjustment on their part. Such denial led to the crisis that the Source solutions are designed to correct. The only remedy is for beings to follow the lead of the Source to prepare themselves and others so that no life is lost in the upcoming vibrational shifts. Every being must turn to the Source, the ultimate spiritual teacher and physician, to heal from the disease of fragmentation and match the level of spiritual integration of the support field as it rises in vibration. There is no formula for how to do this. Every being has suffered from spiritual fragmentation in different ways and needs individualized source care in order to recover. In the Source communication video entitled Transitioning into the Source Perfected World, I give beings training in how to prepare for not only the vibrational shifts, but for the ultimate challenge, attaining perfect spiritual integration, which will be a requirement for transitioning into the Source Perfected World, which will, in the time ahead, be the only sustainable habitat. While general source communications are helpful, it is only when a being takes action to enter into source care and start traveling their path to ultimate spiritual healing that real progress toward achieving spiritual integration can occur. Those who make the decision on the inner and/or outer plane to enter into source care and work with the source diligently to take the next steps that are required for their preparation will be the ones who will survive the upcoming vibrational shifts. An integral part of the preparation for the shifts is stepping up to help others prepare. Widespread spiritual death is a tragedy beyond any other and cannot be permitted to occur. It is totally unnecessary if those who are awakened to the need to prepare help those who have yet to awaken to get prepared. To assist in this work, the Source has brought forth several other major source solutions. Let's take a look at one of these source solutions, which is Heaven Experience equipment. This is an upgrade on the Heaven Experience equipment and miracle-based training that enabled the prototype communities to achieve total abundance and from it to build a miracle-based way of life. With Heaven Experience equipment, it is possible to launch the Heaven Happenings that give the masses an opportunity to experience the Source connection and make a choice to live the Heaven experience rather than continuing on with living the Hell experience of the life of scarcity, struggle, and suffering that is the norm in the world today. Heaven Experience equipment not only helps others to awaken, but it ensures the survival of the Heaven agent with the equipment, since they can stage Heaven Happenings for themselves to bring forth the total abundance of everything that they need in order to achieve the requisite level of spiritual integration for the vibrational shifts and the transition into the Source Perfected World. I discuss this equipment in depth in the video entitled The Source Plan for the Total Abundance Project. Another major source solution is Miracle Link technology. Through an upgraded version of this spiritual technology, it is now possible for the Source to place a miracle link on anything, anywhere, in order to provide a tangible point of connection with Source communications and Source interventions. What this means is that a person in a remote village in the Third World can receive direct Source support through a miracle link to an object that they're using in their daily life. A child in need of entering into Source care can experience direct Source love through wrapping up in a blanket linked to a miracle of Source love. Someone who is self-destructing can turn on the radio and receive a transformative infusion of Source love and Source communications through the song they hear on the radio station. A group of people attending an event can experience Source support coming to them through the event. People entering into a miracle-linked building can experience the miracle link to that location through which the Source can send in Source support for their awakening. Miracle links like Heaven Happenings do not transform consciousness in and of themselves. Like all of the work of the Source, they are an invitation to evolve, an opportunity that the being has to welcome and work with in order to experience a personal transformation. Miracle links complement the work of the heaven happenings. They can reach individuals anywhere in the creation, even in the most distant galaxy. Tangible points of connection with the Source are what the consciousness of every being needs in order to awaken and make the choice at some level of their awareness to transition into an integrated way of life. Miracle links to music, objects, food, places, and events are these tangible points of connection. The Source knows who is in need and where they are in their awakening process. If heaven agents provide the material energy needed for the miracle links, the miracle of direct Source support can reach every being throughout the creation. In addition to the Heaven Experience equipment and the Miracle Link technology, the Source will be bringing in on July 16th a Total Abundance Flowstream, which is a massive universal energy stream. The Heaven agents who work with me during this time frame will be able to enter the Total Abundance Flowstream and escape from the scarcity mindset and receive the abundance mindset and the Total Abundance template that enables them to begin building an integrated way of life. Most beings defend their fragmented way of life because they have a scarcity mindset. Scarcity and struggle is all that they have ever known, and so they're attached to this story about the nature of reality, even though it is to their detriment to stay attached to it. Because the suit is like a mechanical robot at a basic level of its operation, the being, who is the soul in charge of the suit, has to make the executive level decision to fix the robot suit, so it can let go of its attachments before these attachments are its undoing. The Heaven Experience equipment, the Miracle Link technology, and the Total Abundance Flowstream all assist beings in fixing their suits and helping other souls to get back in charge of their suits so that the preparations for the shifts can be made in the time that is left to do so. Now let's look at what Heaven agents are doing to prepare for the shifts. Heaven agents are mobilizing to help themselves and to help others. They are intent on following the lead of the Source to avert the global and universal disaster that could occur if a large percentage of the population lost their spiritual lives. They don't want to live in a world inhabited by robot suits that can easily be controlled by the ruthless tactics of the negativity. They want to honor the gift of the Source solutions that can make life heaven if they do their parts to work with these solutions. They are willing to contribute to the work of the Source, which they recognize is to help them have a second chance to have a life that is heaven. They are taking the first step, which is to enter into Source care. They know that only in the protection of Source care can they begin to heal from the disease of fragmentation and experience the Source love that is what enables them to achieve spiritual integration. In this Source drawing, the white transformer represents the being, and the blue transformer represents the Source care transformer. Heaven agents are recognizing the magnitude of the Source solution that has brought in the Heaven Experience equipment that enables them to live the Heaven Experience while staging the Heaven happenings that enable them to counter the negativity in the world and build a life that is heaven. They are recognizing that with the advent of this equipment, the work of the Source has entered into a new era. They are now at an equivalent point in the history as the prototype communities when they first got their version of this equipment and could begin their journey to total abundance. In a recent Guided Heaven Experience webinar, which is the training sequence for Heaven agents who have the Heaven Experience equipment, Heaven agents used their equipment to hold the line for heaven. They staged the Heaven happenings that defeated a major contingent of the negativity that was tampering with the spiritual equipment of beings throughout the creation so they would be incapable of perceiving Source truth and would therefore not prepare adequately for the vibrational shifts. To give you some idea of how this is possible using the Heaven Experience equipment, I'll explain how this works at a technical level. In this Source drawing, the Heaven agent in his Source care transformer is traveling the path to ultimate spiritual healing, which is represented by the white line. He is traveling in the spiritual space of the heaven experience, which is represented by the yellow square. Into this miracle-friendly spiritual space, the Source is able to send in the miracles, represented by the small yellow arrow, that enable the heaven agent to release from the negative energies within him that link him to the negativity in the external world, which is symbolized by the black ball. The heaven experience equipment then enables him to fire off a heaven ray that can dissipate the external negativity so he can proceed in peace on his path to ultimate spiritual healing. The way in which heaven agents working in the webinar the other day helped others to free themselves from the attempt of the negativity to tamper with their equipment so they would be incapable of registering source truth was through staging what I call outer heaven happenings for other beings. In this source drawing, you can see how it is possible to stage an outer heaven happening that enables other beings to receive the transformational energies that enable them to be free of the negativity. In this source drawing, the heaven agent received an inner prompt that enabled him or her to participate in a heaven happening and also to send out from his heaven experience equipment the source communications and code that enable other beings to participate in the heaven happening. If a being in the world chooses to participate, they can accept this gift of code so their suit can experience the heaven happening. Those who experience a heaven happening are like people who have had a near-death experience. The direct connection with Source intelligence and Source love is life-altering. They are freed from the contracted spiritual space in which they've been trapped by the negativity and are able to understand what it is like to live in the light of Source love. Once freed from the harvesting net of the negativity, they can rise up in vibration and free themselves from forms of damage such as the attempt to tamper with their equipment so they can't register source truth. Heaven agents who have the heaven experience equipment are also joining together to launch more powerful collective heaven happenings that can awaken those caught in the dog-eat-dog story world, which has engendered the hell experience on the social level. Beings caught in this world are driven by greed to gratify their personal story, whatever that might be. They have become the two-dimensional roles that they play in the cultural story, forgetting the true perfection and complexity of their real spiritual identity as the soul. In this source drawing, one of the beings in the hell experience has been awakened and transformed by a heaven happening and has released from the greed energy, which is symbolized by the bright orange color. He now has less greed energy, symbolized by the lighter color of orange. His first decision is to enter into Source Care, which is symbolized by the Source Care Transformer. His second decision is to get the heaven experience equipment, which enables him to enter into the protected space of the heaven experience, which is symbolized by the yellow square. He has now made the decision, entered into Source Care, and has his heaven experience equipment, and has started on the path to ultimate spiritual healing. He will soon join in the collective heaven experience at the social level. As he progresses on his path to ultimate spiritual healing, one of the most greed-filled beings in the story world decides that living the heaven experience is better than living in the hell experience, even though he's at the top of the greed hierarchy and reaping the most material wealth. He releases from his greed orientation, realizing that this is what is causing his life to be lived in the darkest hell energies of the story world. As more and more beings opt out of the hell experience and into the heaven experience, they add to the growing number of heaven agents who are getting equipped and trained to work with the Source to launch the heaven happenings that will awaken the others caught in the hell experience before it's too late for them to prepare for the August 8th vibrational shift. These heaven agents will be gathering together in the Universal Heaven Agent Network Summit, which will be held from July 16th through August 8th. This summit will be held by webinar and is therefore open to heaven agents throughout the global community who can attend online. Heaven agents on the Earth plane who can't work online and heaven agents from outside the Earth plane will be attending through the Universal Soul Talk Network. Heaven agents will also be gathering in the Seattle Ultimate Spiritual Healing Center to draw on the spiritual power of this place of miracles, to amplify the power of both their personal work to prepare for the shifts and the work they do to help the global and universal community to prepare. During the summit, Heaven agents will be launching very powerful Heaven happenings, which will be backed by a peak power surge that will be coming through during this time frame. These Heaven happenings will be powerful enough to awaken many beings in the hell experience of the story world, so they will have an opportunity to travel the path to ultimate spiritual healing and live the Heaven experience in a community of others who are devoted to sustaining life in the creation and building the heaven that life was meant to be. While the work during the summit will be pivotal to the effort to save lives, it will not be enough to reach every being in the creation who is at risk. Heaven agents are stepping up to provide the material energy needed to ground the miracle links that will save lives in the upcoming vibrational shifts. They see this as an expression of their love for the Source and their love for their fellow beings who are still caught in the confusion of the hell experience and who need help to honor their request to the Source for the Source solutions that have now become manifest. More material energy is needed to provide adequately for this work. Heaven agents are getting the word out to others in the Truth Campaign so that they will have an opportunity to join in the work of the Source and benefit from the Source solutions that are now available. In addition to the work of launching the Heaven happenings using Heaven experience equipment and supporting the Miracle Link campaign, Heaven agents are entering into the Total Abundance movement. They are preparing to work with the Source to enter into the Total Abundance Flowstream when it comes into manifest form on July 16th. The Total Abundance movement is sponsoring a series of Love Connection webinars for Grassroots fundraising for the work of the Source. In Love Connection webinars, Heaven agents have an opportunity to contribute to the work of the Source by providing the material energy needed for the direct Source work that makes the impossible possible. In the webinar series of July 16th, 18th, and 26th, the focus will be on raising funds for the Miracle Link campaign, which will provide the miracle links that lift the consciousness of the masses and give everyone the direct Source support that they need to prepare for the August 8th vibrational shift. Those attending will be given training in how to enter into the Total Abundance flow stream and receive the Abundance Mindset and the Total Abundance Template. They will also receive training in how to work with the spiritual science of correct exchange to manifest the miracle of total abundance. Heaven agents dedicated to supporting the work of the Source are joining the Truth Campaign to bring Source truth to truth seekers worldwide. To reach those who want to make a direct Source connection while I am here, as a representative of my Source function, and can work with them individually. To alert the masses to the universal spiritual changes that are occurring, such as the vibrational shifts, so they can prepare for these changes and help others to prepare. To generate grassroots fundraising support for the work of the Source, so that the direct Source work that I alone can do gets done while I'm incarnate in the manifest world. To support the Total Abundance movement, which will manifest the miracle of total abundance for all beings on the earth, building the foundation for a love-based global community that is at peace and nurtures all of its own. To participate in the Heaven Economy prototype that builds the Heaven experience at the economic level, by learning how to earn income in a Source-guided way while building Heaven in their personal lives and in the world, they build the prototype of the Heaven Economy. Heaven agents who have the Heaven experience equipment are now entering into joint ventures with the Source to offer heaven economy miracles to others in the global and universal community. These miracles draw on their unique miracle-based abilities and their capacity to ground energy at a very material level through drawing on their own grounded energy as manifest beings. In the prototype communities, heaven economy miracles are a mainstay of their economic system, providing the community with the very materialized miracles that are needed to complement the very ethereal and high-power miracles that the Source manifests from direct source power. Together, the two levels of miracles provide the building blocks of a miracle-based way of life. Heaven economy miracles give heaven agents another way to participate in the heaven economy, building total abundance in their lives and in the world, while fulfilling their missions in life, which are to build the aspect of heaven that they alone can build. These miracles are also providing another important level of support for those preparing for the upcoming vibrational shifts. Heaven agents will be preparing for these events and for the shifts through studying the materials I have presented in 4 next step videos. These videos contain the information that is needed to put the picture into perspective with regard to what the disease of fragmentation is, how it got started, what spiritual integration is, and how to achieve it. All of the essential source truths needed to transition into an integrated way of life are available in these videos. Let's look at what's covered by each of these videos. The Promise and Peril of 2012 and 2013 is an overview of the vibrational shifts. The Work of the Source is an overview of the work of the Source historically and in our current time. The Source Plan for transitioning into the Source-perfected world is an overview of what it takes to heal from the disease of fragmentation and attain the requisite levels of spiritual integration. This is the main training video that heaven agents are working with for their preparation. The Source Plan for the Total Abundance Project is an introduction to how the Heaven Experience equipment manifests the miracle of total abundance. Heaven agents know that skimming these videos for a surface level of understanding will not help them to grasp the depth of meaning that is conveyed. Careful, meditative work with the powerful transformative energies conveyed in these videos is needed if heaven agents are to successfully make the transition into an integrated way of life in time for the vibrational shifts. Heaven agents are tracking the action in written source communications, where I provide the most current information on what is happening in the work of the Source. Heaven agents are studying the article entitled The Source Plan for Preparing for the Upcoming Vibrational Shifts. This article brings all of the forms of source support that the Source has created into focus. Heaven agents are requesting the 3 gifted source interventions, grounded by the material energy provided by the Universal Heaven Agent Network, that help them to achieve spiritual integration. Heaven agents who have completed the 6-step process for admission into the Ultimate Spiritual Healing Program are receiving source guidance emails that give them an assessment of where they are in their preparation for the vibrational shifts and what next steps they need to complete the preparations. They recognize that preparation is not based on an ideological decision to live an integrated way of life, but on taking the steps that need to be taken to achieve the level of spiritual integration that will match the level of integration of the support field once it has risen to level 6 and above. They therefore value the individualized source guidance that is needed to support their decision to achieve the right level of spiritual integration. Heaven agents in the Ultimate Spiritual Healing Program are able to schedule a personal power surge intensive to take advantage of the power surge the Source has given to all beings from May 10th through August 8th. They are working either at a distance, through working with online Ultimate Spiritual Healing Center stations, Source Interventions and Miracle Tools, or they're working in person in the Seattle Ultimate Spiritual Healing Center. Some Heaven Agents are planning to come to Seattle during the time of the summit to join with other Heaven Agents working on their personal intensives, as well as participating in the summit. Heaven Agents are going to the Vibrational Shift resource station to keep abreast of what is happening in the work of the Source with regard to the vibrational shifts. It is here that they can access links to information about news updates, next step videos, upcoming webinars, the Source Plan article, gifted Source interventions, a personal power surge intensive, the Total Abundance Flowstream, the Heaven Experience equipment, miracle tools and Source interventions, written next step Source communications, the Universal Heaven Agent Network Summit, the Total Abundance Movement webinar series, and the Global and Universal Miracle Link campaign. They're accessing these links at www.themiracleschool.net/vibrational shift resources. Through working with the resources that the Source has provided, they are preparing themselves and helping to prepare others to avoid the peril of the shifts and maximize the promise that the shifts bring for establishing a new baseline for building an integrated way of life that can yield the heaven of true happiness. It remains to be seen how beings throughout the creation will respond to the call of the Source to prepare adequately for the vibrational shifts. Will they once again turn a deaf ear and terminate themselves as they terminated the Universal Source Connection channel? Or will they respond with love to the love of the Source that has made the miracle of the Source solutions possible? Will they rise to the challenge of this opportunity to heal themselves and to help to heal all others from the disease of fragmentation? Will they rally to build the foundation of a love-based universal community, maximizing the potential for this during the massive tidal waves of Source power that come through during a vibrational shift? Will beings throughout the creation hold the line for heaven as did the prototype communities and end the tyranny of the negativity? Or will they follow the lead of the negativity and continue on in denial, reneging on their commitment to the Source to work intelligently with the Source solutions that they so urgently requested? The outcome will depend on the decisions made by each individual being.